Hi, I'm Richard Dean Anderson.
Name's MacGyver.
Colonel Jack O'Neill, SG-1.
My name is Pratt. Ernest Pratt.
I always get a happy, tingly feeling when I see those guys.
Name one contract that I failed to execute.
MacGyver.
Oh, here we go.
You're a target. And I don't intend to miss.
Over my rotting corpse. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? Glowing eyes, cliche behavior, evilness, that kind of thing. Is mental illness contagious?
You think?
You can do anything you want to do if you put your mind.
Well, you do have a penchant for pulling brilliant ideas out of your butt. Head. Out of your head when we need them. Oh, the stuff's already here. I just find a different way to use it. I like your attitude.
Permission to take a team through the Stargate, sir.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the MacGyver podcast. I'm your host, Mac Jackson. I'm kind of flying solo today. Everybody's busy, and really, I just really wanted to come on to share some, well, not share some news. I'm not the one breaking the news, but I had to come in and give my 2 cents. I still can't wrap my head around it. We are apparently finally, after 14 years, getting new Stargate. Thank God. Thank Martin Garrow, Joe Malozzi, Brad Wright. These are the guys who are involved in it. Amazon finally, after being silent like always, gave us a great bit of Thanksgiving news. By the way, happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas and Kwanzaa and Hanukkah for all those listening. A little early on that, but I don't know when we'll be back to do one of these before then. But yeah, we just had Thanksgiving 2 days ago. And before that, we finally got word that we were all dying for, that we are getting new Stargate. And better than that, better than just getting Stargate, Amazon, the powers that be, heard us. Now, you guys have known, whether you were into Stargate or not, we've had Joe Malozzi on the podcast when we were trying to do a big campaign to just, once Amazon bought the franchise, the IP, to say, you know, please let us know you're there. Let us know you have plans for this. And you're not just going to sit on it, which would be insane. And we kind of thought they were because we weren't getting any word for how many years. It's been torture. Well, now finally we're getting something. But we had him on. We were trying to what was it? I forget what the heck we called it, but basically like a blitz through social media, you know, save Stargate, yay for Stargate, give us more Stargate. And we didn't hear anything. It was kind of aggravating and heartbreaking. It started off as heartbreak, and then we did it again and still didn't hear a word, which all we wanted to hear from Amazon was, we hear you. We know. That's it. That would have got us very hopeful. If anybody tries to keep up on rumors or potential backstory stuff, my buddy Jay over at Tachyon Pulse, also Trek was the original name. I think they're kind of running side by side still. He's great. I've been a guest on his podcast and plan to be again, I'm sure. But we chat, and he has been my go-to guy to hear rumors or speculation or just a good debate about what should happen or what could happen. So I've been going to him, and then he felt the same, I know. We got kind of sick of being jerked around, because he'd come in and say, you know, they're thinking about doing a movie, and he had contact and tell you, and I didn't want to do a movie. Nobody wants a movie. We all wanted a series, in continuity series. We've gone through this 100 times on this podcast. Why reboots are typically in 99% of the time not a good idea unless you're like Battlestar Galactica. Starsky and Hutch was a great movie that didn't need to be in continuity. But other things, if you can continue the story even with new characters, as long as they're related to what you love. Let's say your favorite guys are gone. I mean, passed away. You can't bring them back. You can recast them maybe, but typically that's a big no-no because nobody's going to accept another Fonzie, Indiana Jones, I don't know, MacGyver. You can't do that. There's something about certain actors that brought forth the magic. Besides the writing and the production, if you don't have the right actor for it, and that's lightning in a bottle. We all know this. We've said this 100 times. So the idea of doing a new Stargate anything, it has to be in continuity even with new characters, a la Stargate Atlantis, Stargate Universe. They're their own characters, and they're great characters, more or less. But you still have the connection to what made it great to begin with to afford these. And also it gives you the opportunity to have them show up randomly. So there was a big back and forth. You want to go back and watch Tachyon Pulse or Sidetrack. It was a big tug of war. It was going to be a movie, which nobody wanted. It was going to be a reboot, which nobody wanted. There was hope that it was being a continuation, but who would they get? Well, we all wanted Brad Wright. Brad Wright's the showrunner. Why would you not? The guy has a plan. And then we heard, no, they decided to pass on him. What are you, out of your mind? The people in charge, the one woman was fighting for a movie, clearly doesn't understand Stargate or care. She's now gone. They had her step away, be done. Which is, understandable. And again, if I butcher the facts here, forgive me. But from what I got from Jay and Tachyon Pulse and all was, and they said, hey, TikTok, we have this. We have all the James Bond, we know was their big thing. We haven't even heard about a new James Bond yet. How about that? They did the Stargate thing. So the right people are clearly in charge at Amazon now. But they had said to her, let's TikTok, let's get going. Get moving on something. And as we all know, nothing did happen except our frustration. So they said, all right, that's it. You're done. Go away. Thank you. Step away. And that was the right move, unfortunately, for her, but yay for us. It is so crucial that they listen to the fans, especially Stargate fans. I can tell you that. I know there's other fans of other franchises who can be hit or miss, but Stargate is one of those franchises that had everything right for so long. Everybody was on the same page, the showrunner's oath that we often discuss on this show, where it's not about ego, it's not about your particular dream, it's about what is best for the franchise. One of the things that I've seen over the last, I don't know, when did the CW superhero shows happen? There's a couple things happening in the industry depending on what channel what show you're watching. For example, and by the way, one of the names that was not mentioned as one of the people in charge was Robert Cooper, who I don't know. I'm sure he's a wonderful guy, but he took credit for the 9th and 10th season of kind of being the big guy in charge of a lot of decisions on there. Therefore, he gets the credit and or blame for the missteps. And I don't mean the overall, I love the Ori, that was a great villain idea. You know, the big general movement was fine. I didn't care about that. It was the character, the way the characters were written and the way certain moments would never have happened in the prior 8 years. Again, if you've been a fan of this show, you've heard this every time we mention it. And what I noticed with that was what the CW did later on with all of the superhero shows. In particular, The Flash was a good example. Instead of thinking what is best for the show, which MacGyver did that, MacGyver could have gone off the rails at any point during the series run. And when you go back and you think about what they tried to, the behind the scenes stuff, the things they tried to do in the beginning, the original guy who I think directed it went by Alan Smithy because he didn't want to have his name associated because they were fighting. That happens with comics too. There's a Daredevil run where they just said Alan Smithy because people didn't like what they were forced to do. In this case with MacGyver, it was great. But then the second season, there were some ideas they were going to do. If you listen to the Bruce McGill episode, they kept trying to have him be one of the producers, was constantly trying to, John Rich, I believe, was trying to get him to be a regular on the show. That would have been a big mistake. Bruce McGill was very smart to look at it the way we did and say, it's best to have occasional, make it special. Same thing like Murdoch. You don't want Murdoch in every episode of MacGyver. Then, of course, the Nikki Carpenter trying to make her the girlfriend, the moonlighting sort of angle of, oh, they're going to hate each other, but then they're going to fall in love. I'd like Nikki Carpenter for what she was, but then to find out afterwards, like in the original run when I watched MacGyver, I didn't know that they were trying to make them romantic. And the one episode, GX1, the psychic, the Russian psychic says, oh, you love her, you will love, and he goes, no. And that was the last time I believe we saw her. So there were a lot of avenues for the show to go off the rails. But Stephen Downing, who just passed away, very sad to hear that. But boy, what a legacy he left, huh? I mean, he was fighting the good fight up until the end. He really left his mark, and he is the first. Him and Brad Wright are the showrunners to beat. They stuck to their guns. It wasn't about their ego. They cared about the franchise. So those are my two highest examples of what a showrunner should be. It's not about who you like. It's not about, your buddy, oh, we got to get him on set. It's about what's best for the show. Love Bruce McGill, but he agrees. Too much Jack would have watered down the character and he would have just been forced into every episode. So I bring that up in regards to Robert Cooper, who maybe it's not his fault for this decision, but for some reason, they love the 2 stars of Farscape. And again, my criticisms of the show's choices are not at the actors. The actors are wonderful human beings. Every time I see anything about them, I can't say enough good things. However, I hate hate their characters, and not because they're new and they were added. It's because they were forced on because the powers that be tried to steal the audience from Farscape, which was their show, and thought that they could just plop them into SG-1. And wouldn't that just be the same kind of thing? Terrible idea. And it would have been better to do a different thing. I don't even mind the actors being part of it. I hated the way that they were forced on us and told, no, Vala's going to be part of this team. Vala would have been shot and thrown back through the Stargate. She is a cliche, obnoxious character that a little bit goes a long, long way. Mitchell, I'd never buy him as a colonel, let alone even the characters on the show didn't follow his lead without checking with Carter. And what happened was, because of that, we got mistakes in the 9th and 10th season of Stargate, in my opinion, and apparently many, many others. And if you love those 2 seasons just as they are, God bless you. I envy you. But for me, there was little mistakes, again, forcing them to be what they were and trying to push them in front of the team that we already knew and loved. Notice I'm not mentioning how Rick wasn't on the show anymore. That's easy. That's easy pickings. I can say, yeah, well, it wasn't the same without him. No kidding. I went into it with an open mind, though, and was going to accept what it was as long as the quality was there. But there's the episode that I always talk about. Well, first of all, Vala at all. Ugh. Sitting on a senator's desk, making comments. Yeah, she's not only would she not be tolerated on the base, she wouldn't be allowed to be part of the team. That was so shoehorned in that whole 2 seasons. I never liked her, never trusted her. They never made her worthy of the patches. But because of, trying to, like, you Farscape people are going to just jump over to Stargate. Big mistakes. Big, big, big mistakes. And then, like the whole thing of Mitchell's going to leave the dying friend in the military hospital with an alien device. Well, have fun. I got to go save the world. And leaves. Carter couldn't tell her father what he did or what she did, even when he was dying, until they thought they could have him help the Tok'ra. That's the right military sort of oversight. It doesn't matter. If it's top secret, I don't care who your dad is. You can't tell him. Well, you definitely can't leave an alien device in a hospital bed unsupervised where the guy's dead. What's that on? I don't know, but I'm taking it. Now you got problems. Which, if they had written that, if they had actually spun that into like, oh, Mitchell messed up, that would have at least been a payoff. Anywho, the CW did that with The Flash. Tom Cavanaugh, great guy, great actor, was on the first season of The Flash. The powers that be loved Tom Cavanaugh, but his story was over at the end of the first season. They shoehorned him into every season after that. Maybe not in the end, but my point is the damage was already done because I had stopped watching The Flash by that point because of those type of decisions. Instead of staying true to what the show is and what it needs to be and what is best for the show, they catered to an actor that they loved. I love actors too, but I'm not going to force them to be in every single thing. It destroys the whole property of a franchise. Because now you're catering to, no, we got to force this character to be in this scene and he has to be over here. Well, he died again. That's okay. We do multiple worlds and here comes another version. It got so ridiculous from season to season with The Flash as the example I'm using. I know they did it in other CW shows. That it was bad. So I'm hoping that's not what's going to happen now that Robert Cooper is not there. From what I've gotten, there's some stubbornness on his point. Well, I'm in charge, so I'm making these decisions. They were not the best decisions. So that's a relief. Again, it's nothing against the person. I'm sure Robert Cooper's a lovely human being. I just think he gets the blame and the praise for what he contributed. I have a little list. Let's go over some stuff. Amazon was smart to listen to the fans, which again, all is forgiven now that we've gotten this great news. We were all fed up when Jay was talking on Tachyon Pulse. I knew he felt it too. He's just like, I don't know what else to say. I mean, I keep coming back with these. This is going to happen. We're going to hear about it from this to here it comes. Here comes San Diego Comic-Con, and nothing. So much so that he said, if we didn't hear anything by this Christmas, good call, Jay. It must be dead in the water. Okay. But by that point, at this point, I wasn't even looking for anything Stargate related because my heart had been broken over and over and over again for, I could say, the last 14 years since it was taken off the air, but more so when Amazon gave us hope because they bought the property, the IP. You think, holy crap, Amazon, that's money. They put out some good shows. Not that I don't watch Rings of Power, and I know the criticisms about that and yada, yada, yada. So relax. That's not what I'm talking about. But the things that I've seen, they care that there's actually some good production going on. And so they have the money that they could spend on Stargate. Not that it necessarily needs a big budget, believe it or not. If you go back, by the way, and you go back, watch Stargate, the special effects are bar none the best I've ever seen. And I'm talking about, this is the time when Clone Wars and the prequels of Star Wars came out, and they looked like garbage in comparison. Call it a combination of great people behind the scenes, great directing, knowing when to cut a scene when they're walking through a door or whatever. But I always use the example of the ship coming down, landing, doors open, somebody walks through, and you actually see them go through into the ship. That type of stuff, that's a one-shot deal that I think it was the Eris Bach episode in particular that comes to mind. Very well done. So they don't need a big budget. I don't think a big budget means a good show. Everybody's talking about that, actually. Talking about the fact that bottle episodes, you don't know that you don't feel that they're a bottle episode. And there are shows where you can. There are shows where you go, oh, this is a low budget one. This is the one where they couldn't use all the money. They had to do a bottle episode. Stargate has never felt that way. Stargate has always felt the story went where the story needed to go and didn't need big space battles or, epic, glowy locations. If they're in a 2-room part of the SGC, great. Because the thing that makes it stand out and not be, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not out of touch. It doesn't feel like it's dated. That's the word. Was the fact that the writing and the acting, the whole darn production is so strong, it's timeless. It really is timeless. It doesn't feel like, oh, this was done. Some shows you could tell they were done in the 80s or the 70s or whatever. Whatever, that's fine. That's never personally affected my enjoyment of a show. But that's never felt that way with Stargate at any point. So bottle episodes or low budget episodes never jumped out at me. Because it's always been about the characterization. And these writers who are back, again, I got to think about that. We got We didn't just get Stargate back, we got the people in charge back. Thank you. I mean, I'm so excited and more importantly, so darn relieved. Cindy, my wife, had said, yeah, we'll see. I said, no, listen, this isn't, they'd really have to go out of their way to mess this up, wouldn't they? You got the best case scenario other than getting the original SG team back. Which I have thoughts on that in a second. But like, we really can't ask for more. So let me see. Martin Gero, yeah. I read the day we got the news. I hadn't seen, nobody had posted any videos. It was just a quick Stargate's back. So I actually tweeted to Martin Gero and said, please tell me this is true. I reached out to Jay at Tachyon Pulse because he would know quickly too. And also, you know, celebrate that sort of phenomenal news, but again, not believing it. It's just sinking in now, and it's been a week. I didn't want to jump on here and talk about this beforehand. I really wanted to hear theories and thoughts and get a little more background information. So I pretty much nailed everything I was going to talk about, except what's everybody's hopes and dreams? Realistically or unrealistically? I try to be realistic. That's not a bad thing. I'm not trying to take away any hope or dream that I have, because all of my dreams are very easy to do. Because I think we really know that Stargate is about the characters. It's not about the space battles. One of the things that Brad Wright had said last year or so, he had done a podcast or a group sort of thing where he revealed, it didn't look like we were getting Stargate, and it definitely didn't look like he was part of it. Terrible. One of the things he revealed was his idea for a new show, to do like a steampunky kind of, figure out a reason why they had to basically make their own Stargate so it wasn't like any of the other Stargates. Okay. But what worried me was the idea that at this point, the world knows about the Stargate program. That still worries me. If they go that route, I'll accept it, but you've now taken us out of it. One of the things that makes Stargate timeless and feel like it's part of our world, you know, when they show Cheyenne Mountain, they're showing parts of inside the mountain, but they're not showing a couple levels down where it's the Stargate program. Is that it's secret. It's secret from the world, which means you still can do, besides it being realistic, and yeah, we maybe there is a Stargate in Cheyenne Mountain. You get to kind of play with that headcanon in your mind. But the other thing is plot ideas. They've done those episodes where it's going to leak. We can still do those. But he wanted the world to know about the Stargate program. Well, the moment that you do that, it's not our world anymore. We don't get to play with that in our head anymore. It changes everything. It could potentially make SG-1 celebrities if the world knows about them. Not that they would have to. I don't want the world to know about it. I like that whole element. It's like Highlander. Duncan MacLeod walking around. He knows he's immortal. And he has to keep that secret. That's why when they're sword fighting and somebody comes around the corner, both of them put their swords away. If you reveal that to the world now it's more sci-fi than it is us in a sci-fi situation. Jack O'Neill being the voice of reason, Daniel being the hope and the dreamer. They're still us. They're still our military guys. They're still our, archaeologists. They're still us if we were thrown in that situation. if they do that route with this new show, it's going to change things. So that's the thing I'm nervous about. A couple things I'm nervous about. But again, they'd have to be fools to do this. And Robert Cooper isn't part of it, and he would have been one of the people to not listen to logic and reason and from what I gather, he went, "Oh, Rick's gone. I don't have him in my way anymore. I can do the cliche sci-fi. I can have the space bimbo. I can, do that kind of thing." And I remember when they did that with Ronan in Stargate Atlantis. Love Jason Momoa. Didn't like the character. They eventually mellowed him out enough and made him a little rough on the edges, but you can actually have a conversation with them. They seem more logical. When they do the Neanderthal, I'm just going to smash things, kind of alpha male garbage, I check out. I'm like, nobody in the military, let alone in the world, in the room, are going to sit there and go, he's charming. Okay, you're part of the team. Same thing with the space bimbo. I don't need it. I don't need the sassy girl. A little bit of that. You can have episodes where, the first time Vala showed up, it felt like a one-off. It felt like Daniel's on a ship with Vala, whoever this person is. Great. Do one a season, maybe. Don't force them on us all the time. So that makes me nervous. I don't want the cliches. I also don't want back to season 9. Colonel Mitchell, there are times you remind me of Colonel O'Neill. Oh, thank you, Till. God, take that as a compliment, if you wish. That was the most out of place, uncharacteristic line. Worse than any of the first couple episodes of Carter that people tease about, Emancipation. That line alone made no sense. It was out of character. There was no reason for Teal'c to say that to Mitchell, let alone for Teal'c to then go, "I didn't mean it as a compliment." That's not cute. That's not funny. Jack's not there. You wouldn't have said it to him. It was trying to say, look, he's just like Jack, audience, right? It felt horrible. It is one of the scenes that is a nightmare that I'd like erased from my brain. That makes me nervous. I don't want the new show to trample on, and I don't think they will. I don't want the new show to trample on the legacy or characters, I should say, of anybody from the past, from any show. I don't want them to kill off people that they don't need to kill off. He died heroically. I don't care. He's still dead. That means we don't get to see them again. We still feel the pain of Janet Frazier, right? But yet she had, it was meaningful. It sucks that Terrell didn't get to stay, but that still radiates with us, right? They addressed General Ham in passing. That was great. I mean, it was a nice tribute. They named ships after him. Very good. Don't kill off our main 4 people. Jack, obviously. I mean, okay, let's dive into this. Where do you see our characters now? Where would you like to see them? Obviously, if I had my druthers, I want the Jack O'Neill team back together, going through the gate, doing that. I understand that's not realistic. So that's why I say it that way, but you can still have them come back a lot. You can still have them there. Rick doesn't need to throw himself on the ground or anywhere else. Even when he was a general and even back at the SGC, he he's an actor who your eye's drawn to and he pops no matter what he does. He's sitting there having a conversation, not even talking. He's sitting there reacting to somebody else, and you still go, so happy. He's great. David Tennant has that sort of quality too, I believe. I just want to see them and see whatever they're going to do. I'm like, yeah. So you can do that. You can have him there at the SGC in the scene. He doesn't have to be the guy going off world, even though, yeah, that'd be great if they can occasionally have Jack and, Daniels, Carter, and Teal go off world. But have them be part of it. Have them show up. Have them contribute. Now, we know, and logically so, let's look at it this way. There's going to be a new team. There's going to be a new group of people to learn about and care about, just like with Atlantis and Stargate universe. Beautiful. But remember, we still got to see our guys, didn't we? We got to see SG-1. We got to do crossovers. We got to, have fun with it. I want that. I'm excited to have a new team to enjoy. I'm excited to learn more about them. I'm excited for all of these shows to combine. I had said to Joe, and I know I'm not the only one to come up with it, but I remember talking to Joe Malozzi on the show and saying, here's an idea that they should do, which is what 9 and 10 should have been. They were going to call it Stargate Command, which in hindsight, I wish they had to do the disconnect from the mistakes. But you do a show where you're not locked into just certain characters. You don't have to have the new Stargate team be the focus all the time. You could show Atlantis. We could see what's going on with them. Did they get out of the bay? Did they, and I read the comics and there's novels and stuff that will fulfill that if they were never to go back to it. I got that. That's there. And by the way, the newer comics, excellent. Wish we had more on a monthly basis. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. We should get like resolution. We should have the Destiny come home or find out what happened to them. We can have Atlantis go back out into the stars. That's an episode. That you could do an episode or a arc, whatever. The possibilities with this show, and now that they're doing a continuation, not a reboot, thank God. They're endless. We can do anything. And it's not a matter of budget. It's a matter of good writing, which I know they're all great. We've loved the stuff that has come out, obviously, because here we are. So I do want certain things addressed. That's all. Real easy. I don't really have I don't have demands other than okay, you want to know my demand? Besides seeing Jack, I want to know that Jack and Carter have been together since we last saw them. Since at least Threads. Maybe beforehand. No, it would have had to be Threads because that's when he breaks up with his girlfriend and she doesn't marry Pete the Stalker. So from then on, they should be together. Have them be married, I don't even care if they're married. Let them be married, let them be together. Just know that they're happy. Jack, logically, could retire. He doesn't need to be military, but he'll have a reason to show up. You can use the ancient gene as a reason why he needs to show up and make things run or whatever. Put me in the room with some writers. I got some ideas. So there's 100 ways you can go with a reason to bring Jack back. But you could let him retire, be happy, be at the cabin a lot, fishing, whatever, and he gets called back again. Know that him and Carter are happy. She could be a general now if you wish. God knows she deserves it, right? That would be her reason for being in the room. But that's the one thing. If I had to pick one thing to get out of this show in regards to anything, let's know that they're living a happy ever after together. Okay? Let's say for some crazy reason, the powers that be go, we're not going to bring back any of the original cast, which we know that's not going to happen, but let's play that out. Mention that they are together and they are happy. That's it. Jack and Sam have been together and they're happy. Okay. Druthers, I want more. I want to see them together. I want to see them happy. I want to see Jack back in action. And I don't mean, throwing Rick through the gate. I mean, he can and shoot and be in a battle scene without doing his own stunts. Dan Shea, you're up. I also would like to see Corin Nemec back as Jonas. He got really the shaft. He should have been, again, let him be the guy. Even if you don't see him, let's just know that he's part of the SGC again. That way him and Daniel can show up when needed. Or together. I'd love to see more adventures of Daniel and Jonas together. That's just great. Yeah, I love their dynamic together. That's really it. I mean, that's really, other than don't mess this up and kill off our characters. That's it. Those are the big ones. I would love to see Jonas be part of a team. I would love to see him back on the show. As a regular? Sure. Yeah, definitely. But at least let's see him more often. That's it. Teal'c, if we never see Teal'c again, okay. He's off ruling. Actually, you could write a great episode of them having to go to the Jaffa Nation, which he is a big member of now, ruling it, right? There are so many stories you could do there. That's my hope and dream. What is yours? What do you want? Realistically. I mean, you could give me the unrealistic stuff too, but understanding that you do have to do a new show for a whole new generation of fans, which they said they've done. They've really loaded themselves up. It has to be a show that everybody loves, that everybody wants, that all the fans are going to love, and we got to bring in new fans. We got to bring in people that never saw sci-fi or never liked sci-fi, or you've heard the list from the video on Gate World, I think it was. That's a lot of work, but they already know what they're doing. I have all the faith in the world. I have all the faith in the world that the right people are in charge. Amazon will probably give us, probably not the 22 to 24 episodes we wish we had. We want more to be able to not feel rushed, to not feel, we need to develop characters, and that takes time, and that takes episodes. That would be great. I would like at least more than 10. 10 seems to be the current episode length for shows on Amazon or Paramount Plus or Netflix. And a lot of times, you're right, that's more than enough. That's plenty. With certain shows, though, I know I'm partial, but I'm partial because they've earned it. Shows like Stargate, you need a full, typical network run of 22 to 24 episodes. It just lightens the load. You can make the mistake of an Emancipation episode if you had to. But if you only do 10 and one of them was Emancipation, that's a problem. You need the quiet beats to have the bigger beats pay off. So here's hoping they know that. Give me a smaller budget with more episodes. That's really what it comes down to, Amazon. We don't care about the big splashy space battles. Give us the character-driven moments. That's basically it. I can't wait. And also, do you notice? Apparently, they brought in Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich, the movie guys, to be part of this in some way. Which leads me to believe that we're not just getting a TV show. This is what has become thankfully, the Marvel idea of, oh no, it's not just a one and done. We're planning, movies, which would be why they would be there. And I don't care if they do a movie. It doesn't have to be the movie from the same characters of this TV show. It could be another team that's connected. As long as it's all part of the same universe, have fun. Go ahead. You can do a movie and let them control their own section of the Stargate franchise. As long as it's connected and doesn't conflict, more power to you. Go ahead. Do whatever you want. Make them stranded on a planet like their original 3-story Stargate plan of Abydos. Go ahead. Have it be your own characters. That way you have movie things that don't touch, or you do crossovers too. Can you imagine that? The series and the movies characters doing that, like Marvel, right? If Marvel and DC have taught us anything, which as a comic book guy, this has always been the dream. There's no reason to not do something. If you can have characters show up from other movies or shows, do it. More power. More power to you. Let's do that. They can do video games. They can have comic books. They can have multiple TV shows. They can do a mini series besides the TV show. You want to see what the Jaffa are up to? Or do a prequel with the Asgard or the, whatever? Do that. Do all of that. They really, the possibilities are endless. So I think that's what they're going to do. It's Amazon. They're not going to be quiet about it. Joe, Brad, and Martin have said, we're piecemealing this out. This isn't going to come out tomorrow, but there's a script. They now have to pick the actors and the production and all that. So that takes time, and that's fine. Let it come out next year. Great. But in the meantime, they are going to be kind enough to share with us behind the scenes things and ideas and listen to us, which they have. I mean, the powers that be that we already knew have always listened to us. They've been with us. They've been arm in arm with us. They've been fighting for us. Amazon, though, has been smart enough to do the research, listen to all your tweets and blips and bloops and say, okay, so they do want a series. They don't want a reboot. They want Brad Wright to be part of it. Anybody from the original show, they want. Thank you. Thank you, Amazon. You've been wonderful with that. So now we just have to be patient, enthusiastically so. But it's coming, guys. We are getting Stargate. And if you're unfortunate enough to have never watched Stargate, you have at least 8 seasons of the original show that are perfection. I mean, a couple stumbles like Emancipation in the first season where they were just trying to figure out the characters. I'm sure a lot of those were written like many shows before they picked the actors and before the actors had a say. And, the first couple episodes of a series, those were written months before production started. And from what I heard Michael Shanks say on Gate World, I think it was Gate World, they would be writing changes to an episode as they went. If it made sense, change it. Like, this seems better. Let's do this. And with people like Rick ad-libbing, thank God for that, by the way. I know this is a show where we celebrate Rick, but honest to God, thank God he had the right say. He knew what he didn't want, and he would chime in if he thought it was best for not only his character, but any of the other characters. We need more of that. We need people to understand and care, to go, I know everybody when you wrote your episode, you wanted this, but hear me out. What about if we try this? Some of the best changes happen in post-production. Wow. So we got the right people in charge. I can't say enough. Let's just keep the momentum going. Let's be patient. Let's be supportive. Let's not be naysayers. and continue to support these guys and just be good to Amazon now. Amazon, all the anger and aggravation that we all felt, it's all forgiven as long as you listen, you let the right people steer the ship. I think they will. They seem kind of hands off to just go, all right, give us something great and we'll support you. And there's no end to where this can go. I think it's going to be on Paramount Plus. So, yeah. Let's see. Things have been hectic. That's why you haven't been getting a lot of episodes of this or the Never Gets Old podcast. We just put out a couple of those a couple months ago. One, I have to get guests that I'd like to have on. And two, and this is a big one, my kids have followed in my footsteps and taken up acting, whether through school or other avenues. That is a almost daily commitment. It's like being on a high school sports team where you have practice every night. Well, when it's playtime, they have to ramp up and make sure, because Mikey's school, Scranton Prep, does a Broadway production. I mean, it's that top quality. Everybody in the cast, you're not just there going, I want to see my kid, and now I have to kind of tolerate everybody else. Oh, that kid doesn't know how to act, but they had to put him in. Everybody is great in that cast. So yeah, I'm there to see my kid, but I don't have to suffer through other people. They're all great. It's amazing. They did Les Mis. They just did Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. My point is, my daughter is actually in a production of Something Rotten, which I'd never heard about until recently. It's her second favorite. But the reason for mentioning it is it's time consuming. You come home from work, you got to drive them around, you got to pick them up, you got to drop them off. You know, this stuff, this show, as well as the audio series, it takes time. It's basically me cranking this stuff out. If I'm blessed to have a co-host, I'm thrilled. But please be patient. A way you can help, though, which will pay off for you guys, is if you decide to leave a tip in our Patreon, you can just either go through the Forever Adventure Network. You'll find Patreon through there. Or if you're in Patreon, just look for Mac Jackson, M-A-C Jackson. That whole buy me a coffee kind of thing, just donate something. It does help a great deal. Within that, you'll get episodes without commercials or ads, and there's a blog, the store. We have a store full of great stuff. Contribute, please. A tip. I'm not telling you how much to donate. Anything you donate is more than appreciated. And it all gives me an opportunity to throw it back at you with stuff. So that'll help with production. That helps keep the lights on, as they say. So please contribute through Patreon if you would. Also, here's some updates. I am currently writing the next 2 episodes of the MacGyver SG-1 audio series. That's another thing that makes me nervous. I'm hoping, and they probably won't, I'm hoping with the new show that nothing will conflict with what I've written and produced with this audio series. There's 22 episodes at the moment. I try to wedge them in between the episodes that we already know. So that way, if you're a Stargate MacGyver person, nothing's going to conflict. It's only going to enhance what you've already known. And if you've never seen either show, you can still enjoy it as its own thing and not feel like you needed to go back. Well, I'm writing the next 2-parter, which is a lot of fun. The previous episode had a crossover with Quantum Leap, which, made sense. I'm not gonna force any characters in there if they don't make sense. I would love to do a Duncan MacLeod, you know, meetup, but the Highlander universe doesn't work with Stargate unless you decide to crack into the mythology of Highlander and somehow tie it back into Stargate. That's not my place to do. I don't want to mess. I have to have it make sense. And in order to do that, I would have to explain things in the Highlander universe, tie it back to the, the mythology of Stargate. I don't want to do that. It's a lot of work. And also, it's not my place. But if there are characters from other shows or whatever that I have always felt, oh, that clearly fits, that has a place within my story, I do that. I did Dead Zone. Dead Zone made sense. Quantum Leap. But there's a two-parter coming up, which, if you've been listening, I've been planting seeds. Who's been leaving the cards with the circle and the line through it? The Union, I believe is what they're called. We don't know anything about them. Well, this is going to give you more. Also, what's the deal with the power vacuum of the Gould, since Anubis and Baal and Apophis and all of them have been defeated? You've heard a name mentioned in there. That'll pay off. So there are breadcrumbs that are paying off. All of this, when I write it, I have an overall arc of what I'm going to do. So hang in there, and hopefully it is paying off at a good pace for you guys. Pardon me. So that is 90% done. I've written the first episode of it. I'm halfway through the second. So that's coming up. Also, the other thing that's been tying me up with putting out more things for you guys is I'm in the recording studio recording an album. My wife and I have had a couple singles out under the name Harmony Constant, named after a Mike Nesmith song. Alone Again is one of them, and The Story of Us. You can find them anywhere music is sold. I typically have the link through Amazon too. That you'll find that on the Forever Adventure Network page if you're interested. There's a song where I mention MacGyver organically. I didn't force it. That's Alone Again. It just seemed to make sense while I was writing it. So I have enough songs for an album, which now I'm also writing new songs because it inspires you once you know something's moving forward. So we've been in the recording studio every couple weeks. So that's another thing. If you have all these irons in the fire, well, you can't keep touching every single one all the time. Otherwise, nothing gets done. So I have to take focus on one thing. But I'm gonna, shift back to doing these episodes now with Stargate news. Oh, that'll be big again. Gotta have guests on. Have people lined up that I have to try and tackle. Michael DeBar Murdoch has been there, constantly trying to nail him down. But yeah, nothing has been forgotten. Constantly working on it. Be patient, be supportive. Again, any tips that you throw at our Patreon will help all of that. And more product for you, really. Things that you can get for free. Your support, by the way, all of you people on social media from different countries. France, I know, is a big one. You guys have been wonderful. You've checked out the store with all the things we have. You've been sharing our posts on Facebook and Twitter. I'm always going to call it Twitter. I'm not calling it X. It really does not go unnoticed. It makes it feel like a community, which is the whole point of it. I want to put out good into the world, and you guys are helping me do it. So I think that's it. I think I have everybody caught up. If I think of anything else, I'll save it for the next time I get to do one of these chats. We're going to do an episode review, I'm sure. But in the meantime, come on. Let's hear your thoughts, your dreams, your hopes. What do you want from this new Stargate show? Obviously, we want Rick back, right? As much as I'm sure he's willing to do it. He loves Stargate. But you have to knock on his door. Oh, I also saw that Rick saw the video. I posted one of these quick ones to say, hey, Rick, just a reminder, love to have you on since we're talking about you. And I saw that he saw it and liked it. So thank you, Rick, if you do watch this. Love to have you on and just have a nice, relaxing chat without asking you the same 20 questions that you've had to answer for the last 40 years. 40 years. MacGyver debuted 40 years ago. One of the last blogs that Stephen Downing did before he passed was, which he sent to me, and we had a nice little back and forth, was about how it's been 40 years since the debut of MacGyver. Think about how influential he's been in those 40 years and beyond. Not enough words can be said. But we continue to carry the torch, try to put out some good into the world. And I thank all of you for being part of it. Okay? Don't forget, hit like, subscribe, anywhere you're listening to this. It helps me know that you're out there. It helps me know that you're part of the community. It helps spread the word, which is kind of great too. But thank you guys. All right. Let's keep doing good. Let's keep fighting the good fight. And remember, stay creative, everyone.
The MacGyver podcast is part of the Forever Adventure Network and made possible by donations to the Forever Adventure Network by Mac Jackson on Patreon. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever podcasts are heard. And follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And remember, stay creative, everyone.
The Forever Adventure Network. Welcome to the adventure.
Hi, everybody. If you're looking for the best in podcasts, audio series, and music, please check out the Forever Adventure Network. We have podcasts such as the Never Gets Old podcast. We have audio series such as the MacGyver SG-1 audio series and music by Harmony Constant, as well as blogs, comics, and more. Please check us out at the Forever Adventure Network. And as always, thanks for joining the adventure.
The Forever Adventure Network. Welcome to the adventure.